The story starts with a soldier named Park Byung-jong, who is tired and counting down the days until his discharge from the military. He is not looking forward to the arrival of a new platoon leader, Kim Shin-im, whom he believes will be strict and inflexible. However, when the platoon leader arrives, he immediately notices Park and asks him to demonstrate an obstacle course. Park is reluctant as he is about to be discharged, but the platoon leader insists. As Park starts the obstacle course, he trips and falls, and suddenly he finds himself in front of a goddess named Parlia. She tells him that he has experienced many hardships in his life and addresses him as a warrior. Park initially thinks it's a dream and tries to wake himself up by slapping himself. Parlia becomes upset with his behavior and calls him a warrior. Park expresses frustration at his situation, as he was about to be discharged in just 3 days. Parlia explains to Park that he will become a warrior in this world and will need to undergo training again, despite having completed his military service in his previous life. Park becomes angry and verbally abuses Parlia, who becomes upset in return. She tells him that he no longer deserves the title of a warrior and decides to send him back to Earth. Park protests, but Parlia throws him to the ground, and he wakes up in a forest on the New World. He realizes that he is hungry and starts foraging for food. He begins with mushrooms, but soon questions why there are no other food sources in the forest. Monsters in the forest have been avoiding him, assuming he is a formidable opponent. Park calls out to Parlia, apologizes for his earlier behavior, and asks for food. Parlia forgives him and grants him some items, including a menu and a shovel. Park is overjoyed to receive these items. Meanwhile, Captain Dora and Nalari are also in the forest and sense a presence nearby. They discover a cake made by Park, which they find perplexing. Dora decides to leave, but Nalari remains behind. Suddenly, Park appears in front of them, frightening them with his sudden appearance. Dora and Nalari run away, and when they look back, Park has disappeared. However, Park uses his shovel to leap in front of them, surprising them with his speed. Believing himself to be in a fantasy world, Park challenges them to a fight. Dora and Nalari are frightened and believe that Park is a dangerous creature. Dora draws her weapons and they continue to approach him aggressively. Despite Park's pleas for them not to attack, Dora and Nalari remain cautious. Park had been setting traps in the forest to secure food, and Dora and Nalari fall into one of his traps. They realize that he is not the threat they initially thought. They fall unconscious, and Park ties them to a tree. Dora regains consciousness and begins to think of ways to escape. She wakes up Nalari, and they are both concerned about their predicament. Park approaches them and explains that he is trapped in this world and needs their help to get out. Nalari agrees to help. Dora is initially hesitant. However, Park persuades Dora by using spicy chicken hot sauce, which he had prepared to tease his friends. He pours the sauce into Dora's mouth, making her uncomfortable. Park then asks if she is willing to cooperate now. Meanwhile, Chief Haona is worried about Dora and Nalari not returning and prays to the goddess, Parlia. Park sits on Dora's back in the forest, talking to Nalari and playfully scaring her with the chicken sauce. Park Byung-jong, along with Nalari and Dora, arrives back in town. Chief Haona and the townspeople are relieved to see them return. As everyone gathers, Park uses Nalari as a hostage, but he quickly realizes that this is Parlia's world. In an attempt to prove his worth, he introduces himself as the warrior sent by Parlia, shocking the townspeople. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What is the best weapon to be sent in a fantasy world? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now, back to the recap. Chief Haona explains that she received an oracle from Parlia, stating that she was sending a warrior. However, Dora resents the chief for dealing with Park and is clearly unhappy with the situation. Chief Haona tells Dora that they cannot ignore the oracle and will treat Park as a warrior. The chief plans to test Park's abilities and mentions Kareem, a powerful member of the Range clan known for his physical strength. She suggests a competition to determine Park's worthiness. Meanwhile, Park contemplates running away and cuts a hole in his tent's roof with a shovel. However, a bullet stops him in his tracks. He believes it's Parlia. It turns out that to be Marley, who offers to help him get revenge on Parlia for personal reasons. He can shapeshift into a weapon that Park is familiar with and wishes to assist him in gaining more power. An old man enters the scene and questions how Park can speak their language. Park explains that Parlia granted him the ability as a reward. The old man invites Park to come outside, while Marley promises to provide him with more power once they trust each other more. Park carefully inserts the bullet into the neck, his hand steady but his heart racing. The setting sun casts a warm orange glow over the battlefield, making the tension in the air almost palpable. Parlia gazes up at the expansive, crimson-tinged sky, lost in thought. Her eyes search, but they do not find Park. Her emotions swirl like a stormy sea beneath her composed exterior. With a determined nod, she decides to send Brown to visit Park, hoping to gain insight into his readiness for the impending battle. Chief, a weathered and wise leader, approaches Park with a contemplative expression. "I can't decide," Chief confides, "whether you truly possess the heart of a warrior." Park, his jaw set and eyes filled with determination, replies, "I am not ready yet." But Chief, confident in her judgment, retorts, "You are ready, my friend." Park readies himself for the battle ahead. As the battle's commencement looms, Kareem, a seasoned warrior with a keen eye, discerns something amiss in Park's demeanor. He can see through the facade of innocence and spots a hidden wellspring of hatred in Park's eyes. Kareem's voice drips with mockery as he taunts, "You shameless pretender! You may have fooled the others, but you won't fool me." Kareem leans closer, his eyes narrowing, and he adds, "I will guess your truth. You hail from another world and have wronged Parlia, haven't you? That's why she sent you here as punishment." Park, though surprised by Kareem's perceptiveness, acknowledges, "You're quite astute." Eager to provide proof, Kareem asserts, "My body houses the most innovative mind in town." He urges Park to face the grim reality of the situation. With all the power Parlia has granted him, Park launches an aggressive attack against Kareem. However, to his astonishment, nothing befalls Kareem. Park's mind races, recalling military standards. A soldier can take on an enemy alone, a private can handle 2, a corporal can face 3, and a sergeant, like himself, should manage 4. Only 3 days have passed since he was discharged from the army as a sergeant. Frustration boils within Park as they both engage in a fierce exchange of blows. Park desperately swings a shovel, but it proves utterly ineffective against Kareem's defenses. Kareem continues to strike Park relentlessly until he is on the brink of losing consciousness. Amidst the chaos, Marley's voice resonates through the bullet hanging from Park's neck, a lifeline to his past. She implores him to remember the significance of trust and proceeds to unveil her other abilities. Marley demonstrates her newfound powers, causing Kareem to flinch in surprise when Park regains consciousness. Kareem, a veteran of countless wars, had never witnessed such a terrifying aura emanating from Park. He too appears cautious as the battle intensifies. Park expresses gratitude to Marley for their mutual trust. Marley, her voice tinged with self-preservation, states, "I'm helping you because if you perish, I'll be a victim too." Park contemplates his newfound skill, a single shot that could change the tide of the battle, and he shouts while reflecting on his past experiences. With newfound determination, Park bolts into action, leaving onlookers in awe. Memories of his time in the army, where his comrades once ridiculed him, surge to the forefront of his mind. Marley queries Park's desires, and in a magical twist, powers surge to his fingertips, conjuring a gun into his grasp. Kareem charges toward him. Park's aim is true. He fires, and Kareem falls to the ground, a look of shock etched onto his face. The bullet, almost as if guided by fate, magically returns to Park's neck. The crowd stands in stunned silence, disbelief etched on their faces. Park proclaims, "Now you can be certain that I am the warrior sent by Parlia." However, amidst the hushed murmurs, Kareem's voice rises, desperate and pleading. "He's the darkness sent into this world!" A collective gasp sweeps through the onlookers, and they hastily draw their weapons. With a newfound sense of urgency, they converge on Park, launching a furious assault upon him. Meanwhile, Brown observes the unfolding events from his celestial perch. He catches sight of Marley and realizes that Parlia's vision is shrouded by her presence, rendering her blind to Park's actions and intentions. Returning from the chaos on the battlefield, Brown rushes to relay the events to Parlia. He informs her about Marley's presence, but Parlia dismisses Marley as a feeble bug, urging everyone to focus on the mission. She boldly claims that Marley's world will soon become her own. Meanwhile, the relentless assault on Park continues. He fights valiantly, but the tide of battle shifts when monstrous creatures emerge from the sky. To his astonishment, these otherworldly beings rally to his side, coming to his aid. Among the fray, Dora distinguishes herself by bravely dispatching some of the monsters. Park's heart races as he witnesses the arrival of these demons, an unexpected twist in an already tumultuous battle. Amid the chaos, thoughts of fleeing this dire situation cross Park's mind. He ponders an escape, but then he recalls a unique ability he possesses, a cloak, a skill he honed during his time in the army, allowing him to vanish from sight at will. Just like before, he becomes visible to everyone before swiftly disappearing from view. Park manages to slip away unnoticed, putting distance between himself and the ongoing skirmish. He reaches for his communicator and dials Marley's number, but his calls go unanswered. He persistently calls Marley, growing increasingly anxious as the silence on the other end persists. Then, an astonishing transformation unfolds. The bullet suspended from Park's neck begins to grow and morph, gradually taking on a human form. A flickering flame takes shape and tightens around Park's throat, its voice calling his name. Park comprehends that her appearance signifies the return of her strength, a revelation that chills him to the core. Marley confirms this as she tightens her grip. She reveals that she sought Park out to thwart Parlia's plan to unite their worlds, a development that she hadn't anticipated occurring so soon. Park comes to a staggering realization that the monsters weren't summoned by Marley, but rather by Parlia. Marley takes umbrage when Park refers to her children as monsters, and she admonishes him for his perceived rudeness. It dawns on Park that Parlia is attempting to steal Marley's world, and Marley weeps for being compelled to reabsorb her children. Park makes a startling revelation. The village that had asked him to defeat the evil was composed of Marley's children. Suddenly, they notice a presence nearby. The boy emerges from the shadows. Terrified, the boy attempts to feign unconsciousness upon seeing Park. Park, his voice stern, threatens the boy, but the fear jolts him awake. The boy reveals that he doesn't belong to the village, and is, in fact, a spy from a place where people harbor a deep resentment for the Parlan faith. Identifying himself as Saint June, he explains that he opposes the Parlan faith and was sent to infiltrate the village. He had disguised himself and infiltrated the community, all while observing Park's intimidating presence. June confesses that he found Park to be a formidable figure, inciting his fear, proceeded with his mission in the town, working covertly. However, Park's arrival in the city, the revelation of the Oracle, and Kareem's fierce battle had all transpired in a single day. As he contemplated leaving, June reconsidered, thinking that Park might hold the key to helping them, so he discreetly followed Park. Park is incensed by June's revelation and begins to strike him, but Marley intervenes, preventing Park from executing Jun, despite the potential threat he poses. Park acknowledges the ambiguity of Jun's words, realizing they could be both true and false. Marley aligns with Park's skepticism. June makes a plea for his life, explaining that killing him would attract unwanted attention from his organization and empire, jeopardizing them all. With Kareem still alive and hunting them, June argues that survival in their current situation would be challenging. June offers his assistance, claiming to be a genius spy. Impressed by his determination, Park decides to keep him by their side. However, Park has a plan. A daring adventure lies ahead, with their respective motivations driving them. Park for himself, Marley for her children, and Jun for his organization. The trio embarks on their adventure. The collision of two planets signals the success of their daring plan, and Goddess Parlia is delighted with the outcome. She instructs White to acquaint him with their world, and a mysterious black-jacketed man turns his head in response to her voice. It is revealed that him is none other than Kim Shin-im, who had previously witnessed Park's death. Overwhelmed, Kim questions whether this is all a dream. However, Parlia assures him that it is a new world, not a dream. Kim remains absorbed in his thoughts, seemingly oblivious to Parlia's words. To bring him back to reality, Parlia restores Kim's memories, making him realize that he has already passed away in his world. He understands that this is no dream, but a second chance granted by God's mercy. Parlia then presents a condition. Kim must become a warrior and eliminate all evil in this new world. Despite the challenges this may entail, Kim agrees and expresses gratitude for this divine opportunity. Goddess Parlia bestows upon Kim the power to become a worthy warrior, assuring him not to fear this unfamiliar world with White as his guide. In the present moment, Kim feels a surge of immense power coursing through his body. White transforms herself into a sword, enabling Kim to descend upon the Empire. It reassures the terrified populace that the hero will protect them. The Empire's entrance, Park and June assume disguises as a priest and a nun. They are scrutinized by a guard checking for wanted individuals, but Park and June merely smile, causing the guard to let them pass with ease. Inside the Empire, Park is surprised by the simplicity of their entry. Jun flaunts his makeup and luck skills, which played a pivotal role in their success. Despite his annoyance, Park begrudgingly acknowledges Jun's usefulness. An unexpected encounter occurs when a child accidentally bumps into Park. Park responds kindly, surprising Jun, who had never witnessed this side of Park before. The child had dropped a doll, and Park, while returning it, notices the doll's face bears a striking resemblance to someone he knows, Kim Shin-im. Back at St. June's hideout, Park gazes angrily at the doll. The residents of the Empire inform them that the doll represents the warrior and recount the incident of monsters descending from the sky. The warrior and the angel had saved their lives. June advises Park not to fret too much. However, Park anticipates that the hero will eventually come forward and reveal that he was originally a warrior candidate. This revelation surprises both Marley and June as they learn that Park's gruff personality does not seem befitting of a warrior. Park, disheartened and irritated, crushes the doll, sensing an impending ominous turn of events. June inquires about their next plan. Park recognizes that he lacks information and power. He outlines his intention to enlist June's assistance, finding a hidden place where he can secretly develop his strength. In the cathedral, the warrior stands before a statue resembling Parlia, catching the attention of a young man with lilac hair. The young man approaches the warrior, revealing that someone wishes to meet him, as this individual possesses knowledge about the demon's true identity. As the mysterious person approached the warrior, she unveiled her face, Revealing herself to be Dora Captain, she acknowledged the warrior's authenticity, sensing the divine energy flowing through him. Dora requested a favor, seeking revenge for her comatose junior, and expressing her desire to join the warrior's group. In the underground fighting arena, a man with striking blue skin entered to a raucous chorus of cheers and bets from the spectators. The next challenger, known as Champ Tiger, surprisingly turned out to be Park, his face adorned with soldier paint. Marley and June took their seats in the audience, eager to witness the match. The bout began with the blue-skinned opponent poised to strike Park. Park's expression displayed genuine surprise, but the match concluded rapidly, with Park emerging victorious, and he called out for the next challenger. A new opponent stepped into the ring, launching a barrage of kicks at Park, who countered swiftly with a chest-pounding punch, sealing another impressive win. The crowd erupted in jubilation, marveling at the newcomer's unmatched skills. Park claimed the prize money and celebrated with Marley and Jun over a hearty meal. Unexpectedly, a man entered the scene. Recognizing Park from the thrilling fight, he commended Park's performance and extended an offer to buy him a protein drink. The man inquired if Park hailed from Manhwa, a place inhabited by individuals like him, many of whom were wanted criminals. He lamented how the Empire treated them as outcasts and disregarded their existence. The man warned Park to be wary of Friday, an A-rank fighter, the most potent force in the underground arena, who had returned to the Empire. Suddenly, a portly man made his entrance, roughly shoving a waiter aside, and demanded more fried chicken. He scolded the waiter for disturbing his cherished chicken and beer time. At the bar inn, June introduced Friday as the 8th-ranked fighter on the A-rank list, with Kareem occupying the 10th spot. This revelation emphasized Friday's superior prowess. Marley offered her assistance to Park, but he had no specific requests in mind, except for an amusing plan. Meanwhile, at a restaurant tucked away in a back street, Friday indulged in golden fried chicken and beer when Park boldly took a seat beside him, requesting a bite. Friday felt affronted by Park's intrusion and mockingly dubbed him Champ Tiger. Recognizing Park's identity as a fighter, Friday decided to confront the issue directly, asking for a fight. Friday explained that he fought in underground arenas because the taste of victory and chicken was a unique pleasure. Initially dismissing Park as a mediocre fighter, he suggested Park leave. However, Park provoked him by asserting that pizza was more nutritious than the subpar fried chicken. Incensed, Friday agreed to a fight in the next underground arena match. Park continued to taunt Friday, claiming that if he refused the challenge, it would mean pizza was superior to chicken. The crowd thought Park was unhinged and courting danger, while Friday's patience dwindled, urging an immediate confrontation. But Park further provoked him by warning that he might flip the table, causing the prized fried chicken to tumble. This remark surprisingly calmed Friday, who deemed Park a lowbrow troublemaker and ceased his efforts to ruin his cherished fried chicken. With a week until the anticipated match, Park left the restaurant, his laughter trailing behind him. Upon returning to June's hideout, June inquired about his whereabouts. Park casually revealed that he had secured the match with Friday. They both chuckled at how effortlessly they had exploited Friday's love for chicken. June shared a tidbit about Friday, explaining that he had spent nearly a decade traveling the country, amassing a cadre of nearly 300 chefs to study and prepare chicken for him. Park's love for chicken was undeniable, and Jun discerned that Park might be second-guessing his choice to use chicken as leverage. June pressed Park for his reasoning. Shortly thereafter, Marley entered the room and defended Park's intellect, asserting that he was far from a mindless individual. Park implored them to trust him, promising to unveil something remarkable. A week later, the fateful day of the fight arrived, and the two combatants stood face to face. Park remained intensely focused, while Friday taunted him, asking, "Are you scared?" Park retorted, "Shut up, I'm just concentrating." The announcer declared that today's battle would go down in legend. Park launched a swift kick at Friday, seized his head, and forcefully threw him to the ground, reassuring Friday that it was too soon for him to concede defeat. Enraged, Friday retorted, "Today's beer and chicken will taste sweet," as he launched a counterattack with an anime pose. The fight raged on, witnessed by the two opponents previously vanquished by Park, who watched in astonishment. They had never expected Friday to unleash his secret power during the match. Suddenly, Friday's body began to emit a sparkling aura, granting him the properties of carbonic acid. He attacked Park with a sparkling shot that sent him hurtling through the air, followed by a powerful forward thrust that landed a punch on Park. Although Park managed to regain his footing, his mouth began to bleed. He recalled Jun's teachings about the power of a carbonated drink. It could unleash energy, but also left the user vulnerable. Park seized the moment, grabbing Friday's head and bringing him down. Friday rose into the air, descending with great force upon the ground. Park deftly evaded Friday's attack and prepared to counter-strike confidently. However, his attempt faltered, and he received a powerful punch to the face. Spectators watched in awe as Park, despite the relentless blows, maintained a smile. Both fighters charged towards each other, with Park skillfully defending himself while Friday relentlessly delivered punches. Park bided his time, waiting for the opportune moment to launch a counterattack. When the moment arrived, he unleashed a serious punch, but just as he was about to strike, dizziness overcame him. Friday revealed his cunning strategy, confessing that he had coated himself with an abundance of sparkling. His final blow would trigger the sparkling substance within Park's body to detonate. The ensuing explosion left Park gravely injured, sprawled on the floor, his fate hanging in the balance. As Park lay sprawled on the ground, his body battered and defenseless, Jun and Marley watched with growing concern. Friday, his confidence restored. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps. Friday, his confidence restored, chided Park for the predicament he now found himself in, blaming it on Park's earlier humiliation of Chicken. However, Friday couldn't help but commend Park, acknowledging that it had been the best fight he had experienced in quite some time. Suddenly, a dark and ominous aura materialized, causing Friday to shudder with fear. He turned his gaze back to Park, who was valiantly attempting to rise. Park, once devoid of any magical abilities when he was sent down by the goddess Parlia, had now awakened some latent magic within his body. Friday was paralyzed by fear and disbelief, unable to fathom how Park had survived his devastating blow. With renewed determination, Friday rushed towards Park, attempting to launch another attack. However, Park retaliated with a powerful punch to the face, sending Friday flipping through the air and crashing to the ground, his mouth bleeding. Park prepared to deliver another blow, but opted for a vicious kick to Friday's chest, shattering his ribs and sending him hurtling through the air. Park approached the fallen Friday and stepped on his head, emitting an eerie and menacing laugh that sent shivers through the audience. Marley and Jun couldn't help but notice that something was amiss with Park's demeanor. Friday, however, understood Park's condition. It was a case of mana overload. Jun explained that this condition was exceedingly rare, occurring only twice in the world, where an individual born without magic would suddenly gain it, only for their mana and life energy to be consumed, ultimately leading to their demise. In a desperate plea, Friday shouted at Park, declaring that he wouldn't allow him to die due to mana overload, and expressed his intent to personally finish him off for his earlier mockery of Chicken. But Park retorted, asserting that it was he who would emerge victorious. Marley observed the situation and addressed Jun, questioning if this was the revelation he had intended to share with her. Her outrage was palpable as she exclaimed, "Is this the extent of the revenge you desired?" Park realized his error, recognizing that he couldn't afford to die now, especially considering how Goddess Parlia had treated him. Stoking his anger, Park began to pummel himself relentlessly, using his own magic to strike himself in a desperate bid to halt the mana overload. After enduring a series of self-inflicted blows, Park managed to regain control and return to his senses. He challenged Friday to continue the fight, prizing his opponent. Friday understood that Park had resorted to using his magic to strike himself, effectively stopping the impending mana overload. Friday, acknowledging Park as the craziest person he had ever encountered, issued a dire warning, vowing to do whatever it took to defeat him. Park, now shrouded in his mana and assuming a battle stance, prepared for the impending showdown. Friday channeled his sparkling into his body, surging with power and primed to unleash his most formidable attack. He swiftly darted behind Park, poised to strike, leaving Park with insufficient time to evade the impending blow. With unwavering determination, Park met Friday's fist head-on with a punch of his own. While Park appeared overmatched by Friday, his ever-present smile never wavered. Drawing upon his mana, Park manifested a shovel as a makeshift weapon in his left hand, surprising Friday, who couldn't fathom Park's intent to defeat him with his partially debilitated body. Park swung the shovel, connecting with Friday, who plummeted to the ground. The audience watched in sheer astonishment as Park emerged victorious in the match. Overwhelmed with relief, Park collapsed to the ground. As he was about to hit the floor, Marley rushed to his side, catching him and offering her words of praise for his performance. In Jun's hideout, Park lay on a bed, covered in grievous wounds and injuries. Marley sat vigilantly by his side, tending to his needs. Jun inquired about Park's condition, which appeared quite dire. However, Marley, with a warm smile, commended Park for his valiant effort and insisted that he deserved a reward. Employing her magical powers, she initiated the process of healing Park's wounds. Upon regaining consciousness, Park gazed at Marley and questioned the shortness of her hair, unaware that Marley had expended a significant portion of her energy and power to mend his injuries. Meanwhile, Jun, disguised as a girl, navigated the village streets on a quest to secure a new dwelling for Marley and Park. She made her way to Riku, a trusted acquaintance she believed could offer assistance. Riku operated a bakery and also had affiliations with the Manhwa organization. To Jun's astonishment, there was an unusual absence of customers that day at Riku's bakery. Upon peering inside, she discovered soldiers standing within the shop, with Riku restrained by ropes. Jun was taken aback by the presence of a lilac-haired officer and inquired about the situation. The officer questioned whether Jun was a customer, prompting her to respond with a question of her own. The officer disclosed that they were conducting an interrogation of Riku due to his affiliation with the Manhwa organization. Jun decided to leave quietly to avoid causing any more trouble, but the lilac-haired officer intercepted him and subjected him to a heated interrogation. Jun soon learned that this officer was none other than Han, the esteemed first-place A-rank Imperial Knight Commander. Inside Riku's bakery, Han invited Jun and accused him of being affiliated with the Manhwa organization, informing him of his impending investigation. Riku, who had been observing the situation, stepped in and urged Han to release Jun. Riku explained that he had previously asked Jun to dress as a girl in case he needed assistance in delicate situations. Despite Riku's intercession, Han remained suspicious and ordered Jun to depart. As Jun was about to leave, Han kicked Riku and threatened to send all the Manhwa organization members they had into the custody of the enigmatic Doctor. Alarmed by this revelation, Jun hurried to seek the help of Park and Marley. Park had recovered sufficiently to practice his newfound abilities when Jun arrived and implored their assistance in rescuing his organization's comrades. Park and Marley were seated at a table, discussing their plans. Park expressed his gratitude to Jun for facilitating his entry into the Empire and enhancing his superpowers through the arena. He then inquired if Jun considered him a colleague. Marley cautioned Park about his choice of words, but Park brushed her off, asserting that they were merely associates with mutual interests. He explained that it made no sense for them to embark on a mission to rescue Jun's comrades with their still recovering bodies, especially against the mightiest A-ranker. Park issued a stern warning against crossing the line. Despite Park's brusque demeanor, Marley believed he was a rational individual. She conveyed her regard for Jun as a fellow colleague and advised Park to focus on rest and recovery while she assisted Jun in the rescue operation. Marley and Jun set out for their mission, leaving Park to reflect on their shared memories. Suddenly, in a fit of frustration, Park smashed the table to pieces and castigated Marley with harsh words. In the field, Jun and Marley disguised themselves with bush costumes, concealing themselves behind shrubbery. Marley questioned why Jun didn't utilize his transformation ability, and Jun explained that it required consuming a part of the subject's body for the transformation to work. Additionally, the greater the difference from a human form, the more strain it placed on his body. Jun revealed that he had brought something he acquired from his captain, unsure of its nature, to minimize the strain during transformations. His captain had instructed him to use it only when absolutely necessary. Jun believed that saving his comrades qualified as the right moment. Marley remained skeptical but reluctantly agreed. As they observed a group of soldiers escorting criminals, Jun noticed the absence of the A-rank enforcer and deemed it an opportune moment. However, just as they prepared to take action, a hulking figure wearing a mask loomed behind them, sending shivers of fear down Jun and Marley's spines at the prospect of discovery. Marley employed her flame abilities to incinerate the masked figure, diverting the soldiers' attention in the process. In the midst of the chaos, Marley urged Jun to stay focused and reassured him that she could handle the muscle guy on her own. She instructed Jun to proceed with rescuing his comrades. However, just as Jun was about to ingest the pill he had brought, another muscular figure materialized before him. They found themselves encircled by the two muscle-bound men, leaving Jun little room for maneuver. Jun suffered a punch to the face, causing him to drop the pill, while Marley, similarly distracted, was pinned down by one of the brutes. With no recourse, they felt despair creeping in. Suddenly, a man sauntered over, snatched up Jun's dropped pill, and berated them for their ineptitude, sarcastically referring to them as comrades. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out at Aseo, who commented, "W Brit accent. My accent ain't as good as yours on our Your Talent is Mine video. Thanks for commenting." Park effortlessly dispatched the two muscle-bound adversaries and chastised them for their lack of competence, questioning their prospects for survival if they continued to falter so easily. He then directed Jun to employ his abilities more judiciously. Jun was deeply moved by Park's intervention and offered his compliments, but Park dismissed them, telling Jun not to flatter him. Park reminded Jun of his promise to repay the favor. Jun, feeling somewhat slighted by the implication that Park had helped him solely out of obligation, clung to Park's leg. Marley, amused by their interactions, labeled them tsundere. Park was taken aback and inquired where Marley had learned such terms. Following this, the three of them readied themselves for their impending journey. Meanwhile, a peculiar individual reveled in observing small creatures, a spectacle that drew the attention of Honorable. The enigmatic man noticed Han's curiosity and offered to share a humorous tale. Han, devoid of emotion, expressed his interest in hearing the story. The enigmatic man then disclosed that the two muscle-bound men he had dispatched had lost communication with him, suggesting they were either unconscious or deceased. Han comprehended the situation and proposed stopping the Manhwa troops, relocating to initiate their mission. Jun discerned Han's concealment within a building. Park harbored suspicions of a possible trap. Jun, who possessed an intricate understanding of the Imperial Army, regarded it as the optimal means of infiltration. Marley cautioned them against lingering in one location for too long, to evade the enemy's potential call for reinforcements. Park concurred and instructed Marley to return to the hideout, as her presence would be integral to their future plans. Before embarking on their mission, Park made it clear to Marley that if any unforeseen circumstances arose, he might have to exclude her from the mission, regardless of the consequences. Marley understood his position and merged herself into a flame tattoo on Park's arm. Park accepted this arrangement, and he and Jun initiated their infiltration. Park's approach began with a stealthy crawl towards the guards, and then he swiftly rose to his feet to launch an attack. Meanwhile, Jun leaped onto the head of another guard and incapacitated him using a napkin. Upon entering the gate, they observed the situation through a hole in a door, identifying 6 soldiers and 6 hostages, all bound and masked. Jun requested that Park dispatch the soldiers swiftly. Park shattered the door into fragments, and the two infiltrated the hall. Chaos erupted as the soldiers began shouting, announcing the arrival of Manhwa. While Park engaged the troops, Jun rushed to free the prisoners, severing their ropes and removing their masks. However, Jun was taken aback when one of the prisoners referred to him as an idiot. The prisoners discarded their masks and surged towards Jun, assaulting him. It soon became apparent that it was a well-orchestrated trap. Park managed to overcome the soldiers, and both Han and the enigmatic man descended the staircase to approach them. Han realized there were only 2 adversaries and expressed disappointment. The enigmatic man chuckled upon seeing Jun, remarking on how much he had grown, almost failing to recognize him. Jun recalled a memory of the enigmatic man holding his hand while they watched a creature being abducted. The enigmatic man addressed Han, suggesting that he leave the child to him and indicating that their task was not yet complete. Han had no objections, instructing him that he could do as he pleased after the interrogation. Jun recollected the enigmatic man's past acts of torture, which left him feeling uneasy. Park, incensed by the situation, struck the enigmatic man in the face, causing his mouth to bleed. Park attempted another attack, but Han intervened, thwarting Park's punch and causing him to collapse to the ground. Both Park and Jun were now seated on the ground, helpless. Jun blamed himself for their predicament and expressed gratitude to Park for sticking by his side. In response, Park handed Jun a pill and assumed his new form, prompting Han to realize that Park possessed knowledge of magic. Han ordered his troops to apprehend Park. Park was prepared to unleash his counterattack. As the troops closed in on him, Park effortlessly dispatched them, hurling them aside with his powers. Meanwhile, Jun swallowed the pill, triggering a startling transformation in his body. He began to undergo a profound change, taking on a beastly form and emitting intimidating roars. Park was taken aback by Jun's transformation, and even Marley referred to Jun as her son in surprise. A young man suddenly appeared on the battlefield, addressing a creature and questioning why they were engaged in combat. Abruptly, the scene shifted, and Han found himself recollecting a troubling memory, his forehead beaded with sweat. Jun, who was bewildered by his transformed state, asked Park for his appearance. Park struggled to provide a response. At this moment, the enigmatic man threw a toy onto the ground, and the toy greeted them before suddenly attacking Park and Jun. The toy extended 2 projection hands and pinned them against the wall, causing the enigmatic man to chuckle and inquire whether it was acceptable to crush Park and Jun. As the toy threatened to crush them, Park urged Jun to employ his flamboyant new abilities. He recalled Marley's advice for Jun to crush the toy with his teeth. Jun followed her guidance, using his sharp teeth to break free. Meanwhile, Han went to attend to his troops and addressed the enigmatic man as Doctor in their presence. Jun informed Park about Doctor's ability to mold anything with his clay ability, an ability that seemed limitless. Doctor hurled the remaining pieces of the toy at them. Park redirected the attack, causing it to explode. Park then delivered a blow to Doctor's head, which appeared to have no effect because Doctor had employed his ability to protect his head. Jun utilized his sharp claws to sever Doctor's hand, but Doctor promptly reattached it using his ability. Doctor summoned one of his friends, and a hulking, devil-like figure entered the scene. Doctor introduced the figure to Jun, who was stunned to see that it was Riku, the bakery owner. Tears welled up in Jun's eyes as Riku approached him and made an inappropriate comment about Jun becoming a woman and wearing a bikini when visiting him. Park face-palmed in response, while Marley expressed her disgust. Park inquired whether Riku was the person they had come to rescue. Jun was too heartbroken to answer. Jun informed Park that Riku had been altered. Doctor cackled wickedly and cautioned them not to underestimate Riku just because of his quirky personality. Suddenly, Riku expelled a substance resembling acid toward them, prompting both Jun and Park to leap to their defense. The acid struck the ground and dissolved everything in its path. Park asked Jun about Riku's ability. Jun was unsure as Riku had also undergone modifications. Riku then sprayed a fluid from his mouth, acting as a corrosive solvent that dissolved anything it touched. Park contemplated creating a shield for protection and successfully shielded himself from the toxic liquid. As Jun fell to the ground, the dissolvent liquid began to dissolve everything around him. He believed he was on the verge of death, but miraculously survived. Jun marveled at the creature's abilities and entertained the idea of finding a way to escape. However, Doctor quickly raised a wall of clay around them, sealing them inside. He ordered Riku to unleash another attack, filling the room with toxic clouds. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day: evil power or holy power? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now, back to the recap. Inside the enclosed space, Jun and Park found themselves trapped. Jun, being a creature, could tolerate the dissolvent clouds to some extent, but Park was unable to bear the toxicity. Park resorted to a clever trick, using his mana to create a makeshift diver's outfit with a mask covering his mouth. He instructed Jun to search for an escape route while he dealt with Riku. To everyone's surprise, Riku managed to land a non-lethal punch on Park, causing Jun and Marley to react with shock. Park had slowed down due to the depletion of his mana. While defending himself, Jun attempted to attack the clay wall, but it regenerated, and he began to worry about the possibility of Han returning to the fight, making their escape seemingly impossible. Marley approached Jun and informed him that he wasn't tapping into the full power of the Vave tribe. She lent her power to Jun, enabling him to unlock the true potential of his abilities. Meanwhile, Doctor was smirking, knowing that Jun and Park would succumb to the toxic cloud in 3 minutes. However, just as hope seemed lost, clay wall suddenly shattered, freeing both Jun and Park. Jun, now wielding his full power, prepared to confront Doctor. Inside the clay barrier, Marley empowered Jun, while Park continued his battle against Riku. Riku used a grotesque attack, expelling a wave of poison from his forehead pimple toward Park. Park managed to evade the attack, but felt disgusted by it, describing the sensation as making his heart sink and his body feel dull and lifeless. Riku then grabbed hold of Park and began expelling all of his bodily fluids while hugging him, rendering Park unable to fight back. However, Riku's body suddenly began to break apart and dissolve into multiple pieces, causing him to collapse to the ground. Both Jun and Marley watched in shock as Riku met his demise. Jun rushed to Riku, urging him to wake up so they could escape together. However, Riku apologized to Jun, explaining that he couldn't accompany them. Riku's final message to Jun was about a secret maid uniform hidden in his secret drawer. He asked Jun if he would wear it, and then placed his hand on Jun's head, promising to watch over him from the sky. Riku's eyes slowly closed as he passed away, leaving Jun deeply moved and in tears. Overwhelmed by grief and anger, Jun launched an attack on the Doctor. The Doctor, surprised by Jun's sudden outburst, questioned if it was because of that. He offered to recreate that creature. Jun responded by cutting the Doctor's hand with his sharp claw in a fit of rage. The Doctor, alarmed by the situation, desperately sought a way to save himself, and Jun was on the verge of consuming him when Park intervened by kicking Jun. Confused by Park's actions, Jun questioned why he had interfered. Suddenly, a powerful slash cut through an entire building, splitting it into 2 pieces. Han emerged from the gap in the wall, revealing himself as the source of the attack. He'd broken through the other half of the wall and was prepared to fight. Both Jun and Park fell to the ground, their faces bleeding, as Han emerged from the smoke holding a wooden stick. Despite his injuries, Park, driven by his determination and pride, attempted to attack Honorable Marley, intervened to stop Park, but he managed to land a punch on Han, who retaliated with a powerful blow from his stick that left Park's mouth bleeding heavily. Han urged Park to give up the fight due to the severity of his injuries and the near disability of his body. However, Park refused to back down and stood up, resolved to crush anyone who had insulted him, even if they were gods. Han questioned if Park had anything else to say, and Park responded affirmatively. In response, Han unleashed a powerful slash attack, leaving both Jun and Park lying face down on the ground. The Doctor, who appeared to be a 6th Thoth-ranked A ranker, approached them, inquiring when he could have Jun and Park. Han indicated that he could send Jun to the Doctor earlier. Park awoke in a new location, revealed to be an Imperial concentration camp. An old man approached him and doused him with water. When Park regained consciousness, he asked the old man where he was. The old man silenced him with a threat using a sharp object. Park questioned if they were going to torture him, and the old man confirmed it. He then approached Park, Holding a pink box, Park managed to break free from his restraints and tossed a soldier aside, declaring that he couldn't lose his mustache and long hair. The old man showed Park a wanted poster and expressed approval of Park's appearance with short hair, while Park struggled with mixed emotions on the inside. After being thrown into a cell, Park finds himself unable to escape due to the device on his throat that disrupts the flow of mana, rendering him powerless. Marley appears in his thoughts and apologizes to him. Park inquires about Jun's whereabouts, and Marley informs him that Jun has been sent to the doctor. Park realizes that Han and the doctor had different reactions when Jun transformed into a creature, and asks Marley about the creature's race. Marley explains that the creature belongs to a tribe called the Bapes in the Parlian world, created through her power. It was Parlia's suggestion to create a new race with her, and Marley had accepted it, but it turned out to be a trap. Park sympathizes with Marley for being manipulated by someone like Parlia, sparking a debate about Parlia's personality and their tendency to be betrayed by her. Marley suddenly has an epiphany, considering that Parlia's reason for summoning Park to be a warrior have all been a facade. Alone in his cell, Park laughs to himself, realizing that everything might not be his fault and that the goddess Parlia had given him a chance at her own expense. Suddenly, someone enters the hall. Park sees a woman approaching him. She introduces herself as Sister Ray, an investigator, and warns Park that his laughter won't last long as the investigation has just begun. Two heavy bodyguards then take Park into another room, where they tie his hands and hang him from iron chains attached to the roof. Sister Ray starts questioning him about the whereabouts of other Manhwa organization members, to which Park claims ignorance. Sister Ray doesn't believe him and has a table brought in with a pan on top and a fire burning below. She cracks an egg onto the pan and says she will fry it while waiting for Park to speak. Park insists that Sister Ray remove the eggshell before flipping it, but she continues to flip the egg, provoking Park's feelings. Just then, a man enters the room and informs Sister Ray that Jun's testimony has revealed that Park knows nothing and that even the Manhwa organization is unfamiliar with him. Sister Ray is shocked and apologizes to Park for the misunderstanding. She reveals that Friday is also in the jail and promises to cook something delicious for Park. Park requests fried chicken, and Sister Ray agrees to make it for him. Later, Park enters the dining hall with a plate of fried chicken and spots Friday eating something different. Friday is surprised to see Park and asks why he's there. Park explains that he wanted to clear up the misunderstanding and offers Friday a drumstick as an apology. Friday initially refuses, but accepts when Park offers him 2 drumsticks. Feeling touched, Friday savors the taste of the chicken, savoring it after a long time without such a delicacy. However, he quickly realizes he has overindulged and laments that he's only eaten 2 pieces when he usually enjoys at least 30. Park tears a piece of chicken in 2 and starts eating, prompting Friday to grab him by the collar and lift him up, angrily asking if he really likes chicken or not. Park explains the competition between chicken restaurants in his world and suggests that they work together to change the world, extending his hand to Friday. With the help of Gelro, Park successfully recruited Cindy, Bella, and Mangji, 3 formidable individuals who possessed unique talents and skills. As they gathered their team, Park shared his vision of starting a food delivery business, and this idea resonated with his new recruits. They were now ready to execute their plan to break out of jail. As time passed, Park's team of prisoners became well organized and efficient, earning the favor of the guards due to their discipline and hard work. Park's reputation continued to grow within the prison, and he became known as the newest member of the Manhwa organization. His leadership and ability to maintain order among the prisoners made him a respected figure. Park and Friday found themselves in jail together, and Park revealed their initial plan to break out. However, Friday pointed out that their magic was sealed, making it impossible to escape without it. Park then revealed his trump card, a tattoo of Marley on his hand, which held some significance. Despite this, he acknowledged that they needed more talented individuals to execute their escape plan. Friday suggested seeking the help of Gelro, an information goblin who was obsessed with money and willing to sell any information he had, even if it meant getting caught. They approached Gelro and explained their plan, but he initially refused. Park, however, used his persuasive skills and presented the idea of a food delivery business, which piqued Gelro's interest. The promise of sharing business ideas and a 50-50 profit share convinced Gelro to join their cause. Gelro then provided information about the most notorious and socially excluded individuals in the jail. He introduced Park and Friday to the murderous sisters, Cindy and Bella, who believed in the power of strength and beauty. Park easily recruited them by defeating them in combat and offering compliments. Gelro also mentioned Mangi, a recluse who lived in the non-faith and society world, conquering wild animals in the mountains. Park used his charm and played with Mangi using a cat teaser toy, ultimately persuading him to join their group. With their team assembled and plans in motion, Park and his newfound allies were one step closer to executing their escape plan and achieving their goals. As the prison atmosphere continued to change under Park's influence, Sister Ray grew suspicious and expressed her concerns to the warden. She pointed out that several prisoners, including the murderous sisters, Mongi, Gelro, and even Friday, seemed to be under Park's influence. However, the warden, who held the rank of 2nd A rank and was known as Father, assured Sister Ray that there was nothing to worry about. He believed in his abilities and advised her to relax and observe the situation. Meanwhile, Park gathered all the prisoners outside for a diss battle, a sport fought through slander and undermining opponents' mental strength. Despite initial hesitation, Agari agreed to participate. When Agari started speaking, her words had a devastating effect on the crowd, causing bleeding from their ears and noses. Park, too, started bleeding from his ear, but he continued to participate in the battle, making everyone cry, including Agari herself. Eventually, both Park and Agari engaged in mutual slander, and they even shook hands afterward. After the diss battle, Park invited Agari and her 2 men, Dal and Jito, to join his team, further strengthening their group. Later, Marley visited Park in his cell, and despite appearing sad, she sarcastically remarked on his newfound popularity. Park shared his realization that Parlia's true plan was to turn him into a demon and warrior to bring balance to the chaotic world. He explained that his goal was to build the strongest army possible and thwart all of Parlia's plans, starting with defeating the warrior without engaging in direct combat. Marley reminded Park of the warrior's godlike status and the difficulty of defeating him. However, Park remained confident and declared Marley herself to be a god. Impressed by Park's determination, Marley smiled and acknowledged his confidence. Unbeknownst to Park and Marley, a disguised soldier, actually Brown, overheard their conversation and reported it to Parlia. Over the course of a month, the prison environment continued to change, becoming more comfortable and organized under Park's influence. Prisoners advocated for reduced sentences. Even most of the guards began to like Park. Park greeted the old man cleaning the floor. The man thought of him as a sweet person, unaware of the larger plans and ambitions brewing within the prison. As Park and his team initiated their escape plan, the troops guarding the prison quickly recognized Park due to his distinctive flame tattoo and unique outfit, identifying him as the Devil of the Oracle. This revelation surprised Park's team, and they grew anxious, fearing the consequences of attempting to escape. However, Park remained resolute in his decision, emphasizing that they needed to cross the untouchable line rather than living in hiding for the rest of their lives. He instructed his team to survive until he gave the signal to depart. The troops mobilized to stop Park's team, and a confrontation ensued. Park and Marley watched from a vantage point on a building, keeping an eye on their team as they engaged in battle with the prison guards. Park expressed his determination to rescue Jun, their poor child, and the 2 of them left their observation point, heading toward the prison. Inside the Empire, the warden was in the middle of a lunch meeting with other Empire members. They were discussing the agenda for the meeting, which involved considering possible sentence reductions for members of the Manhwa organization. Sister Ray strongly opposed the idea of sentence reduction, and her objections carried weight among the members, causing them to hesitate in making a decision. However, their meeting was interrupted by a troop who entered the room with urgent news. They reported that Park's team had already severed their mana breakers and attempted to escape. Sister Ray was pleased to hear that her suspicions about the black-haired individual, Park, had been justified, though this indirectly offended the warden, who also had black hair. The troop further informed the warden that Park was associated with the Devil of the Oracle, a revelation that surprised the warden. In response, he ordered his troops to eliminate any prisoners attempting to escape and called for reinforcements by summoning Captain Honorable. With this information, the warden and his troops set out to deal with the prison break situation. After successfully locating Jun's cell and defeating the single guard who was guarding it, Park and Marley managed to rescue Jun. Jun was deeply moved by their arrival, tears streaming down his face as he apologized to Park for the situation. Meanwhile, the rest of Park's team gathered to discuss their next steps. Friday decided to split off from the group to find clothes for himself. The murderous sisters and Agari's team bid their farewells, expressing hope that everyone would survive the prison break. This left Gelro and Mongi as the remaining members of the team. Mongi initially attempted to leave on his own, but Gelro, concerned for his safety, insisted on accompanying him. Park's team then decided to revert to their original forms and wait for their captain's return. As they waited, the murderous sisters encountered some of the prison's troops. While searching for an escape route, they were suddenly approached by the Knight of the prison, and despite facing off against each other, the murderous sisters thought both knights appeared soft and weak. The fight between the murderous sisters and the knights began. The female knight delivered a powerful kick to Bella, causing her to stumble back. Cindy attempted to retaliate on behalf of her teammate, but the knight swiftly stopped her. The female knight then released a cloud of smoke that enveloped Cindy. When the smoke cleared, Cindy's muscles had disappeared, and she had become a skinny girl. Bella, filled with anger, attacked both knights, but they effortlessly dodged her kicks. Dirt Needle, one of the knights, explained that his ability was to inject a special stinger into their blood, gently relaxing their muscles. Orofi, the female knight, showed them the smoke from her sword, which had a powerful massage effect that maximized their mental and physical stability. In response to the knight's abilities, Bella unleashed her ability to create toughened glass shoes, while Cindy used her power to set her fists on fire with pumpkin flames. Dirt Needle instructed Orofi to deal with Cindy while he took on Bella. Dirt Needle threw numerous needles at Bella, but she managed to dodge them. Orofi engaged in a sword fight with Cindy, but Cindy's boxing stance allowed her to skillfully evade all of Orofi's slashes. Bella used her rapid kicks to target Dirt Needle. Although he blocked some of her attacks, he found an opening to kick him to the ground. Dirt Needle fell to the ground, seething with anger and determined to destroy Bella's muscles. Meanwhile, back with Park and Jun, Park informed Jun that he had new colleagues eagerly waiting for him. Jun was surprised and inquired about them. Park explained that while trying to save Jun, it stirred up some trouble, leaving his colleagues to handle it. Marley and Jun decided to no longer refer to them as colleagues. Jun expressed concern about whether their colleagues had actually perished. Park jokingly implied that if they had died, it meant they weren't needed anyway. He reassured Jun, stating that he trusted their colleagues to handle the situation. As Park helped Cindy and Bella, he informed them that they had passed his test. Cindy and Bella had demonstrated their determination and true strength by refusing to give up despite their injuries. Park's lesson about physical strength being surpassed by effort and determination had resonated with Bella, giving her the strength to keep fighting. In their weakened state, Bella and Cindy continued to battle Dirt Needle and Orofi. The two knights realized that the murderous sisters were still standing despite their injuries, and the fight continued with both sides using their remaining strength. Bella threw projectiles at Dirt Needle, while Cindy used her vines to capture both knights. The murderous sisters charged their attack, overwhelming Dirt Needle and Orofi, who were unable to stop it. The knights fell to the ground, and the murderous sisters collapsed as well. However, Dirt Needle managed to stand up and approach the fallen murderous sisters, determined to finish them off. Just as he was about to deliver a fatal blow, Park suddenly appeared behind him and told him to move aside. Park swiftly defeated Dirt Needle, knocking him unconscious. After helping Cindy and Bella, Park informed them that they had passed his test, proving their strength and determination. Meanwhile, Agari and her two men faced Captain Ice Gaither, who held the second rank in the B category. Gaither wasted no time and quickly defeated Agari, ordering her colleagues to restrain both men. Gaither had beaten Agari in every aspect: strength, judgment, and speed, leaving her with no means of retaliation. She was unable to speak in her defense. Gaither offered Agari a chance to repent and join Parlia Goddess to avoid a painful death, but Agari firmly refused, further infuriating Gaither. He kicked her and pulled her hair, taunting her with insults. Sister Ray warned Agari's men not to intervene, threatening to kill them if they did. Gaither continued to provoke Agari, belittling her and questioning her worth, even if she were to join the devil. He labeled her as weak and incompetent, holding her hand and urging her to repent once more. Agari recalled her difficult past, from being abandoned in a back alley to ending up in an orphanage before ultimately landing in prison. She had developed a defense mechanism of using dirty talk as a way to protect herself. When she challenged Park to a diss battle again, Park declined and proposed a different challenge. He would only speak one word, and if she could endure it, he would admit defeat. Park used the word failure to inflict emotional damage on Agari. She began to doubt herself and her abilities. However, Park also advised her to use her perceived weakness as a strength by tricking opponents into revealing their vulnerabilities. In the present, Agari decided to repent, much to Gaither's satisfaction, and Gaither prayed to Parlia Goddess. Seizing the opportunity, Agari used her ability to deal emotional damage to Gaither and her team. They all lost their minds, nosebleed, and fell unconscious. Even Agari's own men fell victim to her tactics, and she celebrated her victory. In the prison's dining hall, a chef who had been cooking there for about 10 years was trying to make fried chicken for Friday. However, Friday was critical of the chef's cooking skills, questioning whether he was even a real chef. The chef admitted that he wasn't an expert in fried chicken, which infuriated Friday, who scolded him for lacking pride in his profession. Friday believed that not being an expert was just an excuse. The chef recalled his past when he was defeated by genius cooks and had lost his confidence. He had settled for working as a chef in the prison, losing the sparkle in his eyes that he once had as a young cook. Friday, however, reminded him of his true purpose. Friday saw the determination in the chef's eyes and requested fried chicken once again. The chef wanted to hear Friday say, "It's delicious," while putting salt on the chicken in a Salt Bay manner. The chef prepared the fried chicken for Friday, who savored every bite, praised the chef for his cooking. After enjoying his meal, Friday was approached by Karim and Dora, who seemed ready for a confrontation. Karim understood the importance of not disturbing Friday during his chicken moment, but was prepared to face him in battle. Meanwhile, Park was on top of a building, observing Agari's battle. He engaged in a conversation with one of his colleagues, discussing their strategies and plans. Jun was surprised and somewhat taken aback when Park referred to their group as subordinates. He didn't expect that Park would consider them in such a hierarchical manner. However, he knew that Park had a strong and determined personality, and it didn't bother him too much. Park expressed his happiness that Agari had passed the test, but was somewhat disappointed with her men, who had fallen victim to her tactics. Cindy and Bella, the murderous sisters, asked about Gelro and Mongi's recruitment, to which Park explained that they had already passed the test from the beginning because they were already skilled individuals. When Cindy inquired about Friday's test and suggested that Friday might be weaker than his rank indicated, since he had lost to Park, Park clarified that during their battle, a mana overload had occurred, causing 20% of the injuries to Friday, while the other 80% were caused by the mana overload. This indicated that Friday was actually much stronger than Park. Meanwhile, Friday easily dominated Karim and Dora in their battle, leaving them trembling in fear. Friday's aura caused the floor to explode. Karim fell to the ground while Friday looked down on him. Friday warned Karim to stop interfering with his dream of changing the world. Karim, however, became furious and accused Friday of selling his soul to the devil's tongue. After hearing a sweet story while in prison, he argued that Friday's dream was ridiculous and futile. While Friday agreed with some of Karim's points, he still believed in the power of his dream. Karim attempted to persuade Friday not to fall for the devil's nonsense, claiming that chicken was insignificant. However, this insulted Friday, and he attacked Karim. Dora came to Karim's rescue by using her wisdom power, given to her by Chief Hayona, which manifested as a horn on her head. She made a cute face to distract Friday and used the opportunity to slash at him with her blade, while Karim landed a punch on Friday. The battle between Friday, Karim, and Dora continued, with Friday enjoying the opportunity to eat chicken that was worth it. Despite their best efforts, Dora and Karim were reaching their limits. Friday defeated both of them with a single punch filled with sparkling energy. Friday taunted Karim, suggesting that he was being too passive and questioning if he was unable to use his ability. Karim was taken aback, but realized that his beliefs were the condition to activate his ability. Friday reminded Karim of the past disaster when he had killed most of the Bopay tribe with his own hands, when he had witnessed Warden's resolve to protect the world and his children. After the battle, Warden had started to question himself, and Karim recalled the heartbreaking sight of another Bape tribe hugging each other in their last moments. Meanwhile, Warden suddenly appeared on a walkway of a building and approached Park with a blue aura surrounding him. Park welcomed Warden, but Marley reminded him to stay focused and consider Agari's situation. Park initially thought that Warden was coming for him. Warden used an ability that seemed to manipulate gravity, forcing Agari to kneel down. Warden got close to Agari and spoke about the weight of a father's responsibility toward his child, asking if she understood how her father had felt. Agari admitted that she didn't know anything about her father, and Warden felt a sense of pity for her. He told Agari that her father was watching her from heaven. The situation became tense as Warden prepared to kill Agari, but suddenly a gunshot rang out, hitting Warden's leg. Park had used his gun to shoot between the gaps in Warden's armor. Park then commanded his team to charge toward Warden, not to attack, but to save their teammate and escape from Warden's grip. Warden attempted to stop their escape, but Park managed to strike him on the head with his shovel. Park ordered his teammates to break out of jail first and convey a message to Friday to come to him. Despite Warden's attempts to stop them, Park used his shovel to flip the floor, sending Warden flying away from the rest of the group. Warden was surprised by Park's quick thinking and execution, which were quite different from what he had expected from the Devil of the Oracle. Warden knew that he had to stop this situation, or it could lead to the worst war in the world. He jumped back to the building to confront Park. Park was surprised that he had shot Warden's leg. Warden was still moving efficiently. Warden expressed his disappointment in Park and began talking about his thoughts toward him. Park, on the other hand, remained calm and focused on how to defeat Warden. Warden then took out his book and used one of his skills, a skill called "The First Time My Daughter Called Me Dad." This skill invoked a past memory for Park, reminding him of the first time he had ever called someone Dad. Park was deeply moved by the memory invoked by Warden's memory ability, and he found himself unable to move. However, Warden surprised Park by taking off his helmet, revealing that he was the old man who worked as the janitor in the jail. Warden's true name was Father, and he was a second A rank. His unique ability was the memory ability, which converted the emotions he had experienced in his life into magic and delivered them in an absolute form to others. In other words, Father possessed a formidable power. Park was taken aback by the revelation that the old janitor was actually the powerful warden. Father expressed his disappointment in Park, believing that Park would become his son-in-law and bring him a grandchild. Park found Father's forward thinking and expectations rather creepy. Just as Father was about to attack him, flames erupted from Park's body and blew Father away. Marley came to Park's aid and teased him for crying. Park reminded her to be cautious because of Warden's ability. Park realized that Warden's true power was the ability to convert his emotions into mana, which he could use to either strengthen himself or weaken his opponents. Deepening his emotions made him even stronger, which he achieved by looking at his family album. Park found Warden's ability to be rather underhanded. Meanwhile, Friday was disappointed to find that his chicken had become cold and soggy, causing him to lose his appetite. Kareem believed that they still had a chance to win their fight against Dora, but Friday had been playing around with them, intending to enjoy his chicken later. Despite this, Dora insisted that they wouldn't know if they didn't try, and Friday charged towards her. However, Friday quickly realized that Dora's ability had a limited range of about 2 meters, so he dashed towards Kareem and pummeled him with rapid punches, while thwarting Dora's attempts to intervene. Friday then kicked Dora and returned to attack Kareem. Kareem wondered why he still couldn't use his ability, even though he was close to death's door. He eventually activated his ability, creating a Bape tribe golem. However, his traumatic memories caused his ability to break midway. Friday understood Kareem's inner turmoil, but insisted that he had chosen a new path and warned Kareem against remaining stagnant. He was about to deliver a final blow to Kareem when Dora shouted for him to stop and called out Kareem's name. As Park's team arrived at the dining hall, they were surprised to find Friday victorious over Kareem and Dora. Cindy informed Friday that Park needed his assistance. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out Drakutharat 1735, who commented, "Oh, look at that North Korean propaganda on our merciless video. Thanks for commenting." Meanwhile, Gelro was in a terrifying situation, hiding from a knight named Hoodie. Gelro knew about Hoodie's ability and realized that he had no way to escape from him, no matter how smart he was. Hoodie suddenly zipped up his hoodie, and when he unzipped it, he transformed into a wolf. Hoodie demolished the wall behind which Gelro was hiding, but Gelro managed to protect Mongi and survive. Hoodie possessed an ability that allowed him to wear clothes made of animal skin. By zipping up the clothing to the end of his hair, he could transform into the animal from which the cloth was made. Hoodie was eager to kill Mongi because the leather cloth he wore was a rare collectible. Gelro berated Hoodie for being ethically okay with killing a child, but Hoodie didn't show any remorse. Instead, he zipped up his hoodie and transformed into an octopus, using his tentacles to attack Gelro and Mongi. Back to Park's confrontation with Warden. Warden was surprised to see Marley emerge from Park and was puzzled about her identity. Warden used his ability to buff his team, and his teammates began to awaken. He ordered them to stop Park's team from escaping. Park tried to provoke Warden by suggesting that he couldn't handle the situation alone and needed his team's help. Warden mentioned the gossip he had heard about Park, including the belief that Park was good at deceiving people and had a bad temper. Park felt frustrated that the world thought so poorly of him, while Marley simply laughed. Warden unleashed a blast from his sword while reflecting on a memory of his daughter's delinquent boyfriend. Park managed to dodge the blast and realized that the environment was not in his favor, so he decided to change the location of their fight. Park rushed toward Warden and locked his head with his shovel. He then kicked Warden into the sky, sending him flying. Suddenly, Friday appeared from the sky and used his powerful attack, Sparkling Lariat, to knock Warden down into a forested area. Friday and Park joined forces to defeat Warden, with Park mentioning to Friday that the beer in this world tasted better. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps. The Warden was taken aback by the fact that he had to fight Friday, his former colleague. Friday pointed out that since they were no longer colleagues, he could use his full power without worrying about rules and rankings. The fight was about to begin. As Park delivered powerful blows to the Warden, he kicked him towards Friday. Friday grabbed the Warden and skillfully flipped him to the ground. The Warden immediately attempted to use his ability by opening his album book. Park reacted quickly and threw his shovel at the book, preventing the Warden from using his power. With this opening, Park and Friday closed in on the Warden. Park used his shovel to strike the Warden, while Friday watched with pride, recognizing that Park had improved significantly and might even surpass him. Despite the relentless assault from Park and Friday, the Warden kept getting back up. Realizing that he needed to cut the flow of their attacks and unleash his ability, the Warden attempted to do so. However, Park commanded Marley to intervene, using her flame to knock the Warden down and prevent him from activating his ability. Park and Friday continued their assault on the Warden, using a rapid technique reminiscent of an unending torrent. The relentless strikes began to tear apart the Warden's armor. Meanwhile, As Park's team hurried to escape on the walkway of the prison, Jun reminded them of the urgency of their situation. He explained that Kareem often visited the Empire to see Han, which indicated that Han was close to the prison and could single-handedly eliminate all of them. Jun also expressed concern about how Park and Friday managed to defeat the father, Warden, and escape together. Back to the fight, Park and Friday were growing tired, yet the Warden appeared to be in perfect condition despite the powerful attacks they had landed. The Warden explained that he couldn't afford to fall down as long as he had a child to protect, emphasizing the strength of a parent's responsibility. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Fire abilities or ice? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. As Park and Friday continued to run from the relentless Warden, they brainstormed a plan to defeat him. Park considered two options: taking the Warden's children as hostages, but they had no information about the Warden's background to execute this plan effectively, and using his gun to take advantage of the broken body armor. However, Park was concerned that the Warden might be able to dodge a fatal shot since he was aware of Park's gun ability. Friday asked Park what he should do, and Park instructed him to immobilize the Warden for just 0.5 seconds to allow Park to pierce the Warden's heart. Meanwhile, Gelro and Mangi found themselves in a precarious situation with Hoodie's tentacle. Hoodie belittled Gelro, claiming that being an informant was useless in battle. In response, Gelro provoked Hoodie by emphasizing the importance of information, stating that it could change its value in seconds. Hoodie's delay gave Mangi an opportunity to break free from the tentacle and engage in combat. Gelro's ability had three functions. It acted as a GPS eavesdropping device, revealed an image of the object it stuck to, and delivered information to the opponent that Gelro desired. Gelro used his second ability on Hoodie's cloth to reveal its past, and provided the image to Mangi with his third ability. This triggered Mangi's wild instincts, and he fiercely fought against Hoodie. Hoodie transformed into an A-class noxious beast named Gornirodcilius. He dodged Mangi's attacks and unleashed a powerful blast. Mangi used a remaining block to jump toward Hoodie. Gelro, with his abilities, discovered a weakness in both of Hoodie's shoulders and shared this information with Mangi. Mangi used his blowgun to shoot both of Hoodie's shoulders, causing him to lose his power. Hoodie now felt like the prey in danger. Mangi was on the verge of finishing his opponent when out of nowhere, a swift strike from Trojan knocked him off balance. The clash of their powers was like a storm in the making. As Mangi stumbled, Gelro's heart swelled with gratitude. His team had arrived just in time to rescue him from certain defeat. Hoodie, lying low and feigning unconsciousness, couldn't help but feel a deep sense of relief. Trojan's intervention had saved his life. He knew that Mangi's wrath would have been merciless had he continued his assault. Gelro, still catching his breath, turned to Cindy with a furrowed brow, his disbelief apparent. Pressed her for details about Park's situation. Cindy, her face etched with tension, explained how Park had engaged in a fierce battle with Warden and had urged them to escape the prison first. Gelro's skepticism flared. He couldn't resist hurling an insult at Cindy, accusing her of having a muscle-bound brain. Bella, always the voice of reason, interjected, seeking clarity on their next move. Gelro, relying on his uncanny ability to discern the enemy's location, gathered the information they needed and directed his team toward Warden's presumed whereabouts. Inside the imposing castle of the Empire, the warrior and White sat side by side, their presence commanding respect. Brown, on the other hand, couldn't tear his eyes away from Han, who was bound by a contingent of troops. Han's frustration boiled over as he demanded to know why he couldn't go to aid his comrades. White, his voice dripping with disdain, insulted Han's humanity and warned him yet again to stay away from the enigmatic devil. Han, his patience wearing thin as his men faced peril, unleashed his latent power, breaking free of the binding magic. Brown watched in astonishment at Han's incredible strength. White, undeterred by Han's show of power, delivered the shocking revelation that it was an order from Parlia Goddess that forbade them from interfering. Han's thoughts drifted back to a memory of a time when he had dated a fiery red-haired woman at an aquarium. She had expressed her belief that they were insignificant, mere fish in the eyes of Parlia Goddess. Back in the midst of the ongoing battle, Warden pondered the enigma of Park's disappearance. He couldn't help but acknowledge Park's growth, having faced formidable adversaries in such a short time. Warden had faith that Park had reached A-ranker strength and wouldn't flee from a fight so easily. Spotting Park and Marley waiting in ambush, he readied himself for the confrontation. But before Warden could engage, Friday, formidable opponent in his own right, stepped in to challenge him. Warden unleashed a barrage of swords with his unique ability, followed by a flurry of powerful punches. Meanwhile, Park remained hidden in the forest, his gun aimed with unwavering precision at Warden, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the battle raged on, Friday found himself pushed back against a sturdy tree by Warden's relentless assault. Warden unleashed a devastating final attack on Friday, only to be taken aback when Friday revealed a mischievous smile and consumed a sparkling Mentos. The unexpected turn of events caused Friday to explode with energy, hurtling toward Warden. In that critical moment, Friday grabbed hold of Warden and soared into the sky, shouting to Park below to take the shot. Warden, realizing their strategy, struggled to break free, his thoughts drifting to his beloved family. Park seized the opportunity and took the shot. Fate had a different plan. It missed Warden's heart and struck him in the neck. Warden plummeted from the sky, his mind filled with thoughts of his wife and children. Inexplicably, as he fell, his latent power surged, affecting those around him emotionally. In Warden's distant past, he'd been an ordinary adventurer, hunting monsters to make ends meet. Over time, his once bright eyes had grown darker. Then he met a captivating woman in a shop, confessed his love, and she accepted. They married, had children, and he toiled as a part-time janitor to provide for his family. He faced ever stronger monsters to earn more money, cherishing each return home as a joyous reunion. Eventually, he climbed the ranks to become Warden, a source of pride for his wife. Warden's eyes were fixed on a cherished photograph of his family. In it, he saw the radiant smiles of his 4 daughters, and later, the addition of his 5th daughter, a testament to the happiness they had shared. But one fateful day, as he returned home, he was met with a distressing sight. His wife had collapsed. Desperation gripped his heart as he sought a doctor's aid, but tragically, the doctor's efforts proved in vain. By his wife's side, he listened to her feeble apology for leaving him, implored him to care for their children. As Park's team finally arrived at the scene, Gelro couldn't help but feel that it was too late for intervention. The memory of Warden's wife's passing unleashed a tumultuous wave of emotions, causing the sky to darken, making it hard for their opponents to breathe and see. But Warden, driven by the need to protect his children, pressed on. His sword in hand, he faced his adversaries, turning to Park to inquire about his eyes. Park, burdened by his own inner turmoil, confessed that his ability was a constant source of torment. In Park's recollection, he stood on the brink of leaving for military service, his mother's tears and worry weighing heavily on him. He had assured her he'd return unscathed, but now, stranded in this foreign world, that promise seemed distant and unattainable. Warden's mention of these memories angered Park, who felt a surge of resentment for having them resurface. Warden, taken aback by the revelation of Park's family, provoked Park's wrath, resulting in a powerful punch to the face. However, Park's physical strength was compromised. He tumbled to the ground. Despite the emotional turmoil Warden's ability caused, Park summoned the strength to move forward. Warden glanced at the other 2 opponents, still affected by his emotional onslaught. Park disclosed to Warden that he had already weathered these emotions when he first found himself in this realm. Urging Warden to persist, Park stressed the importance of staying alive for his parents. Warden questioned the true nature of Park's identity as a devil. Park, in response, attempted another punch. Warden countered with his sword, forcing Park to evade. A swift kick followed, but Warden seized Park's leg and tossed him aside. With unwavering determination, Warden continued his assault, landing a knee kick that rendered Park unconscious. It was a regrettable but necessary act to safeguard his family. Just as Park's team arrived, he began to regain consciousness. Grateful for their timely arrival, he urged them to leave the prison, knowing that their battle was far from over. To Park's astonishment, his team found themselves capable of moving freely within Warden's emotional field. Gelro revealed that he had employed his unique ability to transmit will and goal memories temporarily, effectively neutralizing the field's paralyzing effects. This freedom of movement indicated that Warden's strength had waned considerably. Gelro theorized that Warden's power was fueled by his warm memories of his wife, a resource-intensive endeavor, which Park had managed to weaken. With resolve in his voice, Park ordered Gelro to utilize his ability to restore Friday and Marley's senses. Warden, however, wasn't one to be easily thwarted. He forcefully pushed aside Park's team and seized Aguri, tossing her aside and striking Mongi simultaneously. Regaining hold of his weapon, he shoved Park's team away. In a desperate move, Park hurled his shovel at Warden, the weapon finding its mark. Undeterred, Warden rose to his feet and unleashed a flurry of attacks, using his sword with precision. Bella, quick and agile, intervened with a well-timed kick, followed by a punch from Cindy. Warden deftly caught Cindy's fist and flung her into Bella. Displaying remarkable agility, he split his sword into 2 and faced 3 adversaries single-handedly, managing to fend off their combined assault. Warden then triggered his emotional ability once more, sparking Park's concern that he could still control the field. In a sudden maneuver, Warden hurled his sword toward Marley, prompting Park to rush to her side for protection. Park shielded Marley, who had regained her senses, but wept for her inability to save her children. Understanding the depths of her despair, Park apologized for his previous self-centeredness and assured Marley that her children were alive and that there remained a chance to rescue them. Encouraging her to place her trust in him, Park received a smile from Marley. However, she cautioned him that granting him more power would push him beyond the limits of his humanity. Park, not concerned with maintaining his humanity in a world that deemed him a devil, insisted on receiving Marley's power. She relented, and Park underwent a transformative change, adopting a new form. Warden, taken aback by Park's newfound appearance, wondered if he had undergone a rebirth of sorts. With all his teammates incapacitated due to the lingering effects of the emotional field, Park made a bold decision to engage Warden in a one-on-one showdown. Warden issued a warning, announcing his intention to concentrate all his energy, memories, and emotions into a single devastating attack, empowering his sword to unprecedented levels. Park, undaunted, shaped a longer shovel from his mana and charged headlong toward Warden. Warden swung his sword with precision, but Park's agility allowed him to evade the lethal strike. In a swift counterattack, Park twisted his body and slashed upward at Warden, severing one of his limbs. As the emotional field dissipated, Warden acknowledged his defeat and readied himself for the inevitable. To everyone's surprise, Park reverted to his normal form and spared Warden's life. Final act of mercy. Park instructed Warden to leave the Empire with his daughters and never return. Warden's team, bearing witness to Warden's weakened state and Park's resolute victory, acknowledged their defeat as well. As they departed from the prison, Gelro turned to Park, eager to know their next course of action. Park disclosed his next objective with unwavering determination: to confront and eliminate the warrior. Meanwhile, in the higher echelons of power, Parlia Goddess had lost track of Marley's power and grew curious about Park's fate. With a snap of her fingers, she gained insight into the events that had unfolded within the prison. A sense of surprise and satisfaction washed over her as she contemplated her creation, a masterpiece in the form of Park and Kim, whom she hoped would engage in a formidable showdown. The devil had successfully escaped from the notorious detention center known as the Frontal Escape. This breach was not limited to the prison camps alone. It sent shockwaves throughout the Empire, a reigning superpower in the world, overseen by the formidable figure of Honorable. The fact that such a heavily fortified camp had been infiltrated raised questions about the Empire's global dominance. A solemn procession of troops carrying a coffin made its way through the Empire, and grief permeated the atmosphere. Han, his countenance marked by sorrow, took a moment to reminisce about the early days he had spent with Kareem, their first encounter when Han was a mere C-ranker seeking advice. Through dedication and hard work, Han had managed to surpass Kareem's rank, a feat that filled Kareem with pride and prompted hearty congratulations. Han, however, found himself in need of love advice, and Kareem gladly shared in the celebration of Han's success with his girlfriend. Kareem had been a steadfast presence in Han's life, providing support during the tough times. He was the one friend Han had ever truly opened up to, and tears welled up in Han's eyes as he recalled their cherished moments together. Following their mournful farewell to Kareem, Warden approached. Honorable relief washed over Han as he discovered Warden's well-being, the successful reattachment of his severed limb. Warden revealed his intention to retire, a decision that took Han by surprise. Han inquired about the reason behind this choice, prompting Warden to explain that the devil of the Oracle, the enigmatic Park, was in reality a human with a family who had experienced sadness and despair. Warden harbored doubts about facing him in full strength again, believing it would be an insurmountable challenge. He extended his apologies to Han and offered to assume full responsibility for the Empire in his stead. News of Kareem's demise and Warden's retirement spread like wildfire throughout the expansive Empire. Reactions varied, with some individuals fearing the implications, while others harbored anger. Heated debates among Empire members ensued, centered around the loss of Kareem, a figure who had left an indelible mark. In the midst of these discussions, a red-haired girl inquired about Jun's whereabouts from a fellow resident of the Empire. The man responded that Jun was in the company of the devil, setting the stage for new alliances and potential confrontations in the ever-evolving narrative. In the aftermath of the unfolding events, the red-haired girl's team paid a visit to Jun's hideout. Within their confines, a cage contained strange creatures, while a massive being remained bound by unyielding steel chains. As they approached, a man lounged casually on a nearby couch. Seizing the opportunity, a girl with intricate tattooed skin named Elise took action. Meanwhile, others mourned the loss of Kareem, among them Kareem's sister Kram. Amidst the tumult, Han remained steadfast, dedicating himself to rigorous swordsmanship training. Across the world, an eerie silence hung in the air, belying the impending storm that loomed on the horizon. At Jun's hideout, Park decided to embark on a new venture, opening his first business to secure military funds. He proudly presented his fried chicken creation to his team, eliciting joy from Friday, who relished the flavorful treat. Gelro expressed his satisfaction at finally delving into the world of business. As they savored their meal, Park decided to recount his journey, sharing everything that had transpired. To his surprise, his team seemed rather disinterested in his story, focusing intently on their meal instead. Jun, already familiar with Park's tale, encouraged him to partake in the feast. Friday marveled at the deliciousness of the fried chicken, while Marley couldn't help but feel slightly disappointed that her divine nature hadn't garnered more attention. Park, eager for feedback, asked his team for their thoughts on his story. However, they appeared unfazed by the narrative. While they believed him, an unsettling feeling lingered, casting doubt on Marley and Parley's accounts. Friday recalled that Marley had once been an A rank. He couldn't divulge further details due to a binding contract. Park pressed the issue of Marley's children, specifically Bape, with the Empire members, but they remained tight-lipped. Marley was heartened to learn that Friday had knowledge of Bape, though her inquiries yielded no additional information, owing to the constraints of the contract. Abruptly, a purple-muscled man and his peculiar pet barged into their hideout, wreaking havoc. With everyone poised for combat, the man introduced himself to Park as Mabomai, a member of the upper demon race. Mabomai sensed the presence of Mother's energy within Park, but quickly discerned that Park was not one of their own. Suspicion gnawing at him, Mabomai inquired whether Park had stolen Mother's power. Without warning, Mabomai launched an aggressive attack on Park, but Marley intervened, blocking his assault. Mabomai was taken aback by Marley's intervention on Park's behalf, referring to her as Mother. In response, Marley divulged the entirety of Park's story and her journey alongside him. Stricken with remorse for the loss of her power and her ability to maintain a human form, Mabomai extended an offer to Marley. He presented her with his pet, which she absorbed, regaining her divine power and returning to her original form. Mabomai expressed his joy at Marley's restored power and vowed to protect her from that moment onward. With his pledge, he departed with Marley, setting in motion new and unexpected developments in the unfolding saga. Marley found herself torn between conflicting emotions and turned to Park for guidance. However, Park's annoyance at the situation became evident as he halted Mabomai's attempt to take Marley away. Mabomai, in turn, expressed his gratitude to Park for protecting Marley and pledged to safeguard her himself. This prompted an irate response from Park, who seized Mabomai by the waist and demanded a halt to the proceedings, his frustration palpable. Mabomai, understanding the complex feelings at play, offered a rational perspective. He asserted that the issues they faced were intrinsic to their world and should be resolved by them. Marley partially concurred with Mabomai's viewpoint, wrestling with her own internal conflicts. She'd once been a deity, but had descended to a level akin to humans, finding herself viewing humans as equals and experiencing emotions she had never felt as a god, including burgeoning feelings for Park. Mabomai, touched by Marley's moment of blush-inducing vulnerability, relented and permitted her to remain with Park. He playfully teased them about the depth of their affection for each other. However, he also made it clear that he would not allow Marley to endure the agony of losing something precious. To enforce this, he created a muscular barrier to encase them. Mabomai went on to explain the diverse desires of Marley's children. Some sought strength, others desired supremacy, merely sought enjoyment. A few harbored ambitions to devour gods. Marley, while seemingly proud of her creations, irked Park with her failure to inform him of these developments. Turning his attention to Park's team, Mabomai issued a stark declaration of their perceived weakness and the impending threat of death if they failed to prove themselves. He adamantly refused to permit them to leave the arena while the possibility of death loomed. Park, invigorated by the challenge, expressed his eagerness to settle the matter through combat. However, Mabomai swiftly closed the distance between them, and with a simple touch of his finger, disintegrated nearly half of Park's body. Park's team was taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. Fearing for Park's life, Cindy and Bella, driven by vengeance, rushed toward Mabomai, yet Mabomai effortlessly thwarted their efforts and immobilized them with his sinewy muscles. He urged them to relax and assured them that Park was not on the brink of death. Mabomai subtly hinted at their comparative weakness by implying that he didn't even need to use his hands to halt them. Mabomai then offered Park valuable guidance on harnessing Marley's power and navigating the precarious situation in which he found himself. He emphasized Park's good fortune in receiving Marley's power, which bore similarity to his own abilities. Mabomai offered to aid and instruct him in regenerating his damaged body. As Park invoked his power, his body gradually underwent a miraculous recovery, and his lost limbs began to regenerate. Mabomai commended Park for his successful use of the newfound ability, marking a significant achievement. However, as Park launched another attack toward Mabomai, the latter effortlessly disintegrated Park's body once more with a mere touch of his finger. Mabomai cautioned Park that he would continue to destroy his body randomly until he became proficient with his ability. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Central Church, The warriors convened for a meeting with members of the Empire. The red-haired individual playfully taunted Han, suggesting that he relinquish his title as the Empire's strongest army. This red-haired figure held a direct position under a doctor named Abramans. Abramans brought up the concerning developments in various countries, particularly the Kingdom of Massivin's release of criminal gangs and drugs into the Empire, now spiraling out of control. Abramans slyly provoked Han by mentioning that Majesty, the Empire's leader, had released Elise and Cram, subtly implying Majesty's disappointment in them. The warrior, however, took charge and assured the others not to be alarmed. He vowed to handle the situation personally. Suddenly, an informant materialized during the meeting, sharing vital information about the Devil of the Oracle. The informant detailed Park's history, recounting how he had systematically defeated A-rankers and assembled his team. The warrior expressed surprise that the devil appeared human rather than demonic. He pressed for details about the devil's background, leading Han to recount his encounters with both Park and Warden. The warrior, inquisitive about the devil's identity, requested the informant to reveal the name, Park Byong-jong. This revelation startled the warrior, causing him to break into a sweat. He turned to White, seeking her reaction. It was met with a seductive gaze, suggesting that she had already been aware of the devil's true identity. Growing suspicious upon learning that the devil's name was Park Byong-jong, the warrior pressed the informant for confirmation. The informant disclosed his previous identity as Champ Tiger, leaving the warrior no choice but to accept that the devil was indeed Park. Sensing something amiss, Han and Abramans questioned the warrior, prompting him to momentarily leave the meeting with White to verify the truth. White confirmed to the warrior that Park's presence in their world was a trial orchestrated by Parlia Goddess. She urged the warrior to eliminate Park once again as an act of atonement for his sins, so he could return to his normal life in a world where Park remained alive. Meanwhile, during Park's grueling training under Mabomai's tutelage, the intensity escalated as Mabomai increased the difficulty by employing 2 fingers. Despite Marley's objections to this painful training regimen, Mabomai insisted that enduring this ordeal now was preferable to facing potential extermination later. Marley, incensed by the harsh training, demanded Mabomai cease. Her concern for Park's well-being prompted Park to inquire about her feelings toward him in a somewhat tsundere manner. Marley claimed not to like him but regarded him as a colleague. Nevertheless, she subtly hinted to Park that he held a special place in her heart. Accepting Marley's lack of romantic feelings, Park found renewed purpose in his quest for revenge against Parlia. This unexpected response surprised Marley. Park pressed on with his training, urging his team not to intervene. Although Mabomai effortlessly disintegrated Park's body once more, Park's resilience allowed him to regenerate his arm and land a perfect punch on Mabomai's face. Elsewhere, the red-haired girl approached Jun's hideout, but struggled to locate it. One of her team members unearthed a strange, purple muscle in the ground, revealing Jun's hideout. Suddenly, the purple muscle entrance opened, and Park's team emerged, having successfully completed their rigorous training. Park, cautious, initially viewed the red-haired girl as a potential enemy. However, Jun's warm greeting and reference to her as leader put Park at ease, causing him to lose consciousness. Mabomai, realizing he had pushed the training too far, possessed the ability to control and mold his muscles freely. He had created a clone to train Park's team while separately dealing with Park and Friday. Friday and Park managed to land a perfect attack on Mabomai, bringing their training to an end. Gelro and Jun celebrated their team's accomplishment throughout the challenging training regimen. The group relocated to Manhwa's hideout, where a blue-haired girl advised Jun to undergo a magical examination to check for tracking spells. While outside, a magician named Hai Jesa discovered that Jun's body harbored someone else's magic. In an attempt to dispel the foreign magic, Jun suddenly fell unconscious. The doctor's form emerged from his body. Despite their efforts to intervene, the doctor was able to brainwash them in time. The doctor expressed satisfaction at discovering Manhwa's hideout, while Mabomai left the hideout to lead his own group. Before departing, he assured Marley that they would meet again, playfully teased her about the possibility of Park falling in love with her in the future. Marley blushed in response to Mabomai's teasing and told him to depart, and Mabomai bid them farewell, offering his best wishes. Meanwhile, Han was prepared to launch an assault on their hideout, having been alerted by the doctor's report. Han and the doctor's plan proved successful as they deliberately allowed Jun to escape. Dirt Needle, with his enhanced eyesight ability, located Mabomai's position. Han readied his weapon, anticipating the impending confrontation. Mabomai, sensing the Empire had swiftly pinpointed their location, realized they had fallen into Jun's energy trap. Concerned for Marley's safety, he decided to confront Han head-on, crafting a long sword from his muscular abilities and slashing the entire cliff. Han calmly positioned himself on the remaining section of the cliff to engage Mabomai in battle. Back with Manhwa's group, the leader and Park introduced themselves and shared their common goal of opposing Parlia. The leader disclosed Manhwa's rejection of Parlia's religion and their aspiration to create a free world, liberated from the oppression of this faith. Park expressed his aim to deal with the Empire first before addressing Parlia and his desire to establish a business. Recognizing their shared objectives, he proposed forming an alliance with the Manhwa leader. Friday expressed astonishment that the leader knew the truth about Parlia's faith and questioned her true identity. In response, the leader removed her mask, revealing herself as Lucy, a former Noir 1 A-rank knight within the Empire. Returning to Jun, he regained consciousness and made his way back to their hideout. The magician attempted to follow him, but was reminded by Jun that he was not a member of Manhwa and should not enter. Despite their differences, they had collaborated for an extended period. As the magician departed, he crossed paths with the doctor, reporting his inability to gather further information. During the Manhwa meeting, Gelro and Friday expressed surprise at Lucy's presence. Park inquired about her, and Gelro revealed her past relationship with Honorable Park was taken aback to learn that she had been involved with someone as serious as Honorable Lucy. Impressed by Gelro's information-gathering abilities, was embarrassed upon realizing that everyone knew about their breakup except for her. Lucy concealed her identity once more and continued to inquire whether Park would consider joining their alliance. Suddenly, Jun burst into the meeting, revealing that they had been deceived by the doctor. In the intense battle between Han and Mabomai, Mabomai initially acknowledged Han's disciplined body as commendable, but he held the belief that Han's inherent power was insignificant. Mabomai thought that with his current level of strength, Han couldn't possibly defeat him. However, Han had a revelation to share with Mabomai. He had never truly fought with his limits set, was determined to push himself to the absolute maximum. This newfound determination by Han impressed Mabomai, who decided to let him go without further conflict. Mabomai then compressed his sword into the tip of his finger and lunged towards Han, making contact with Han's body. Suddenly, Mabomai's arm was slashed off by Han's swift and powerful attack. Han continued his assault by slashing Mabomai once more. Although Mabomai managed to create some distance between them and regenerate his body, he couldn't believe how Han had severed his arm effortlessly without even taking a combat stance. Dirt Needle explained the remarkable truth about Han, who was born with a few abilities. Through unwavering dedication and continuous training, he had risen to the pinnacle of the Empire. This made his combat skills and abilities far surpassed those of ordinary humans. Rizaska Han was a true testament to the concept of a monster of hard work. Mabomai, trying to maintain his bravado, mocked Han, suggesting that he had attempted to defeat him with his meager ability. However, both Mabomai and Han were equally surprised to see two signs above Han's head. One sign disappeared when Han cut off Mabomai's arm, but reappeared when he attacked with his sword. Mabomai explained that his own ability allowed him to store an attack move and then release it again. He could only store up to 2 attacks at a time. Despite his initial belief that his ability was insignificant, Mabomai praised Han's attack as perfect, a testament to countless hours of grueling training. Mabomai continued to taunt Han, claiming that Han was merely a fake, while Mabomai was the true ruler. He then revealed his first true form as their intense battle raged around the cliff. Despite Mabomai's power, Han managed to fight on par with him. Han unleashed his ability to slash at Mabomai's head. Mabomai managed to evade it. Mabomai retaliated with an attack, but Han expertly blocked it, sending Mabomai flying. Han landed on his feet and swiftly moved away from Mabomai, seeking a strategy to counter his formidable opponent. Mabomai, determined and relentless, closed the distance with Han, and their clash continued as Han deftly parried Mabomai's next attack. In the fierce battle between Han and Mabomai, Mabomai managed to force Han down, causing him to fall to one knee while still parrying Mabomai's attacks. Han then unleashed his ability to slash at Mabomai, but Mabomai skillfully countered by slashing at Han's ability itself. Mabomai continued his relentless assault, aiming his finger at Han's head. However, Han managed to dodge just in time and quickly created some distance between himself and Mabomai. During this intense moment, Han reminisced about his past, where many people praised him for being a genius. However, he came to realize that from the moment of his birth, his mana was predetermined, and there existed a stage that was beyond his reach, regardless of how hard he worked. Han thought about the blonde-haired girl in his memories, who bore a resemblance to Lucy. He affirmed to Mabomai that nothing could make him feel despair. With a surge of determination, Han unleashed both of the stored abilities he had towards Mabomai, combining them into a dual release. Han managed to land a powerful slash on Mabomai, and continued his combo, repeatedly striking his opponent. Mabomai, though impressed by Han's improvement, praising his hard work that had turned him into a genius, ultimately defeated Han with ease. Mabamai mocked him by stating that he was born with both talent and hard work, a combination Han could not hope to match. Mabamai then delivered a devastating punch that sent Han flying, causing him to land on a cliff. Meanwhile, Lucy was riding a large flying creature and encountered Han nearby. Han recalled that Lucy was once his apprentice, who had quickly risen to become an A-rank knight due to her natural talent, which had caught his attention. However, Han did not acknowledge her as a genius, particularly when he was merely a C-rank 28th in comparison. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out at Ara Ara Simp, who commented, "You deserve more views. Don't give up. I love your recaps on our damn reincarnation video. Thanks for commenting." The Razaska family had a strong dedication to God and the people. Han's great-grandfather, Razaska Iga, had achieved the B rank, marking the family's most significant achievement. Han, as the first member of his family to be able to store 2 movements, was considered a genius. He had enrolled in the Imperial Knight School, carrying the expectations of his family. However, at the age of 15, he had grown disillusioned with the favoritism shown to those with natural talent, leading him to become a delinquent. Dirt Needle playfully tried to console Han and teased him about his feelings towards Lucy. Han denied any such feelings, but Dirt Needle suggested that perhaps he should consider challenging Lucy to a fight. Han was initially surprised by the idea, but ultimately left the canteen to find Lucy, who was engrossed in reading a book. Han approached her and challenged her to a fight, but he was swiftly and easily defeated within just 10 seconds. Following this defeat, Han sent a letter to his family, informing them of his decision to leave the knighthood school and embark on a journey of self-improvement. While his mother worried about Han traveling alone, his father was pleased that Han had grown into a determined and self-reliant individual. Han then set out on a journey around the world in search of a new mentor to further develop his swordsmanship skills. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.